don't mind tonight. Play per Evo.
Depends. Will your friend, the footballer, be there?
Oh, friend, football friend. Oh, what a superb goal. Stefan, that is extraordinary from Ben Garuccio.
Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of Football Friends with Ben and Stef. Stef, how's the holidays? The mid-season holiday that you got, how's it going?
Yeah, good. We played the under-19 from our PVF, which is like an academy, but they play in the first division. We won 6-0 in the first half. I scored 2, so absolutely flying. I actually scored. I've got to try and find a clip to send it over, but this chip that I scored, like a joke. Oh man! Yeah. If I've had to do that in a friendly game and it will never happen in a real game, I'm pissed off. But if I can ever score a goal like
that's the thing. It doesn't count for anything.
And it was against the under-19s, but it was actually it was wild.
Confidence building though.
Yeah, I think that's why the coach has done it. Like all the other teams actually, because they've had off since November, like start of November. We had off since mid-December. Like they're actually playing like round robin, almost tournaments. Like a lot of the teams have flown into Hanoi or Ninh Binh, which is like an hour and a half away just to play games because they haven't played many. Where for us, like I think our coach is smart. Like we've played so many games, we had 2 weeks off, but we're about to play another, whatever it is, 30 games in 6 months. So we don't actually need that many games, but it is good for the confidence booster. And speaking of confidence, you guys must be happy over there. The 3-0 win against the Bulls, pretty comfortable game in very, very hot conditions.
Yeah, it was fucking roasting. I think it was probably up there with one of the hottest games I think I've ever played in the A-League.
Not hotter than that one in Albury. Remember that?
Nah. Well, we obviously used to have the 3 o'clock kickoffs in summer, which was just, I don't know why we ever kicked off at 3 p.m. But I think the early days of the A-League, we used to have a lot of games at 3 p.m. in the middle of summer. So there was even a few in Adelaide where, you get that Adelaide heat and it's like 40, 42, 43 degrees. I think the thing that saves it now playing a little bit later is the sun goes down. And then once the sun goes down, it's obviously still warm, but you're not getting, I feel like it just takes it out of you and the sun's just hitting you the whole game. So I think we played maybe the first 15 or 20 and it was really, really hot. But as soon as the sun went away, it was fine. You didn't really think about the conditions too much, but the game itself was good. Obviously a confidence booster, like you said, but I think as well coming off the back of the result from the week before, which was a draw away at Melbourne City. We didn't really speak about it last week, but it just felt like a loss because of how poor we were. And obviously there was comments from Broski and saying that, it's the worst he's ever seen from a Sydney FC side, which is fair enough.
Was that spoken about?
Not really. No, not really with the boss. I think the boss kind of swept it under the carpet, even on the media and stuff as well. Look, I think you can say that, maybe in terms of the way we looked or how we were actually playing the game of football. But in terms of results, like you get a point away from home, it's not really that bad. It's better than getting absolutely spanked. So I think it was one of those where we just knew that we were not at the races, and that was probably the most disappointing part. But the actual result is, a point away to Melbourne City, last year's champions. You kind of take it and run. So it was a good way to bounce back. I think it was probably, as a whole, obviously the result's great. You score 3 goals, you don't concede. But I think just the actual performance felt like one of our strongest the whole year. So it was good. Obviously MacArthur have been in a good run. So to go there and win 3-0.
Yeah, it looked like you guys maybe have changed, obviously a little bit of personnel, but it looked like maybe it was a little bit more aggressive in how you were pressing from the front, where last year, obviously, it was all-out press and kind of kamikaze. It was the best team to watch was always Sydney because you knew there was going to be goals. Then this year, you guys looked like you were very, I guess, passive, I would say, like in the way you'd kind of just get into your block. And this game looked like it was almost, not quite like last year, but it looked more attacking in the sense of you wanted to win the ball back. Did that kind of come from the boss, a clear message? Like, that's how you want to play from now on, or it was just the game that went by?
Yeah, I think we reviewed the Melbourne City game, and I think that was the word that was used quite a lot, was passive. Not just from him, but from us as players, like watching it. Yeah, and you don't want to you're never going out there to be passive, but sometimes maybe a lack of understanding or whatever makes you look passive. And obviously it's not great for fans if they're watching and we look passive. They think that we're not trying. That's definitely not the case. You're always trying when you're out there, but sometimes just the way you're setting up or just the way the game is, it kind of makes it look that way. Whereas I think this week we kind of had a bit more of an idea of, all right, these are the moments where we want to go. And I think we did it really well. We went in the good moments. We won a lot of balls. And I think in this league, honestly, like no disrespect, but pressing for me is the best. Like as a player, I love it. I love when we press because you win so many balls. I don't think there's many teams in this league where you go and press and they're gonna, tiki-taka through the whole team and go and score up at the other end. And you know what? If they do, you put your hands up and you say fair play. But I like it. I like to play aggressively. I like to play on the front foot. And, if you miss, you miss. You can see the goal, you can see the goal. But for me, it's definitely better than feeling the other way and feeling like you're passive or, fuck, I should have jumped there, but I'm not sure. So I think it was good. The understanding was good from the boys. Obviously, the ones at the front are the ones that start it, and then we just got to come with them. But, yeah, we pressed well. Obviously, keeping a clean sheet is a bonus as well. So I think we got to keep that side because we've been good defensively. But also, if there's things that you can do a little bit better, like, pressing in the right moment, then, of course, you got to.
Yeah. I think it's like I'm the same. Like I've probably never had a coach that's been so good in that tactical discipline of, all right, this is the block we're sitting in and this is the cues to go. And like that takes so much more understanding and knowledge from the coach and the players to kind of execute that well. So I feel like it is a lot easier to press high. It's more energy and it's harder to do. But in terms of kind of setting it up, I feel like it's a lot simpler. And like you said, if the first player goes and he misses, the second player maybe comes in, the third player, like you still need to get through a lot of players for them to get a shot away. And if you win the ball up there, well, you get a shot yourself at goals. And I think a lot of goals in the A-League or a lot of goals worldwide in football come from those turnovers high up the pitch. So I think that's just the way to be. Like you can't do it the whole game and you need to understand, okay, when it's the right moment, when it's not the right moment. But I always have found, when coaches say, all right, we're going to sit in this shape, this is what we want, you end up just becoming passive because you're never really ready to go. And if you're thinking, oh, it's a 50-50, should I go? You always think, well, he said just to sit. So you think, I'll just sit. But then eventually, you're like, well, when do we go? And a team like Melbourne City, who are so good on the ball, with keeping it, maybe not so much scoring of late, but they're so good at keeping it, it does become like that. And that was a terrible game, even as a neutral to watch. But yeah, good to see you guys obviously mix it up. And I think if you change it up each week as well, like teams don't know what to expect. So it's it's good to see you. Always happier when you're winning to come on here, even just to speak to, and you got a nice assist. I don't know if the ball was unbelievable. It was a good ball in, but the header was top from that far in front of the front post.
There's some assists where you're like, fucking hell, I've put that on an absolute platter. And there's other assists where you're like, that was not really that good of a ball, and he's made it look unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's always nice, like in the commentary, they're saying, fucking great header, and, what a ball in as well. I'm like, I'll take that every day of the week.
Yeah,
But Victor actually said, whoever gives me an assist, I'll give him $100. So I rocked up to train. I rocked up to recovery the next morning. Cold hard cash, sitting there. So yeah, I've managed to get some bonuses off Victor.
Yeah, tax free. We won't tell the APL about that one. But yeah, no, it's funny. Like that's why I kind of actually not hate assists, but goals is the best stat, just because like you have to finish the action. It has to be you as a goal. I know some goals are shit, but it's a goal. It's a goal. An assist, like you could literally, like Craig Goodwin got an assist for Duzel's goal.
Yeah.
It was a tackle that ricocheted off Goody to Duzzy. You get the assist and you're like, well, but you could ping a ball 50 yards through the defenders, like Dean Pizarnis, the one that Long scored. He pings it on the ground. Then someone plays it to Long or whoever it was. I can't remember. And it's not Pizarnis' assist, but that was actually better than the assist, but you don't get an assist. So that's why the assist is almost like a flawed stat.
Well, the thing is, sometimes you can put the best cross in the world and they just miss.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then you didn't get an assist, or like, oh, fuck you, you haven't had many assists. It's like, for me, the chances created or big chances created is a much more accurate stat. If you're creating amount of chances every single game, then you're likely to get assists, whether you actually get them or not. But I think, the assist is, it's one of those.
Yeah, but anyway, you'll take it. And you guys probably not needed to win that game, but in terms of like when you look at the ladder now, like it's so tight. Like Western Sydney as well with a massive win over Victory, which we'll touch on a little bit. But from 12th Mariners 11 points through to, let's say, MacArthur third on 19 points, who have played an extra game as well. Like it's 8 points in it. So for you guys to kind of get that win, you get a bit away from your Melbourne Cities, your Victories on 17, Adelaide 16, Perth 16. Like it just gives you a tiny bit of breathing room. And Auckland are the same. Like they keep on winning, who we kind of both said from the start. I feel as if it's not really getting any clearer behind Auckland, I would say. Like even you guys, I watch you and I think you're good, but I don't think you're as consistent. Every other team, I'd say, like from you guys down, like maybe not Central Coast or even West Sydney, to be honest, or maybe Wellington, I would say won't get in there. But like from Perth up, there's honestly not much in it. Like every team each week, you're like, oh, they're not looking great, but then they go out and win a game. Like even Newcastle, they were struggling at the start of the season. They're coming fourth now. They've had a few massive wins. City away, Auckland away, I think twice. So it's really, if you don't rock up and if you don't play well, you're not going to win a game of football in this league. So
they've really impressed me, Newcastle, because it's like it's winning games. I think obviously they've conceded a lot of goals. I think they've conceded the most in the whole league, to be honest. But they're also scoring a lot of goals, which is a very good sign. And they've obviously got a young team.
And conceded the most.
Yeah, but the games that they've actually won, like they've beaten a lot of the teams that are up there. And, you come finals time, it's like that you take a lot of confidence from that because you've already done it in the home and away season. Why can't you do it in finals? So I think they've really impressed. I think like you look around everywhere else and it's just like, if you have a little bit of consistency, and I think that's the thing, obviously with us, maybe you say we're not pretty or whatever, but we've conceded 7 goals in 11 games, which is great. So if you're defending well, you've always got a good chance. Hopefully that can continue. We've obviously got 2 games in hand on MacArthur and all the other teams behind Brisbane. So we just got to win. We just got to keep winning. At the end of the day, it's one of those, like, just don't really look left or right. Keep going. We've got Wellington at home this week. We're back at Allianz. So yeah, we got a pretty kind run in. We've played a lot of away games. So looking forward to this back half of the season.
Yeah. So you're back at Allianz this week?
Yeah, back. So I think it's like
much better.
Yeah. I think we only travel like 4 more times in the whole year outside of Sydney, which is pretty good.
Can't complain about that.
That's top.
That's the advantage of the New South Wales teams anyway, obviously, when you've got so many teams that are there. But yeah, for you guys, obviously playing a few more away because of the debacle. When I saw the Adelaide United women's played against Sydney FC at Leichhardt, and the pitch looked horrible. Like I can understand.
I don't know what they did.
The game.
No, I think they were trying to kill the winter grass or something, and they were hoping that the summer grass, I don't know, all this talk in Sydney about this fucking summer grass, I don't understand that. Apparently the grass is better in summer, but
doesn't look like
and
it.
then it didn't come through in time or whatever, and that's why they canned that game. So yeah, it's a bit of a debacle, but honestly, what a week can change though. Last week we were sitting here talking about obviously Western Sydney and their struggles. It feels like every time they're kind of struggling or Stadge is maybe under pressure, they win games.
Yeah.
And like that's a big win. And then we go to Central Coast. We said, I think Central Coast, they're doing decently. Now a week later, like they actually are bottom now. And all of this news has just come out. So
yeah. It's like football's funny. I just kind of think like, and this is where it's easy for us to say, but like I feel like when you watch a team or you look at a club, for example, like you can't actually just make decisions based on the results, because sometimes in football, like you deserve to win a game and you don't, or, you do, like vice versa, where I still wasn't really like, I watched that Victory Western Sydney game and like, I don't see from watching that game that they're going to consistently win now. I get they won the game and that's great, but like, if you're watching a game and you're like, oh, I can see how they won this game. I can see the changes that have been made. I can see the extra energy, like they scored off a penalty, which probably was a penalty. But like Victory missed some good chances. Yes, it's a great win. I'm just not sure. I'm still not really sure about Western Sydney. And again, winning gives you confidence, so we'll see. And then on the flip side of it, if you're talking about like club ownership and like Central Coast have been a shambles from the start, they were kind of just hanging in there. And then this comes up and you're like, and they've just been smashed away to Perth. It's one of those ones where you're like, as a player, it does affect you. Like, because also now you're like, well, fucking hell, who's paying my wages? Is the club going to exist? Obviously, the APL's taken over. There's just so much uncertainty with the league and with everything. It's just so difficult. So I don't know if you've heard much about like what's going to happen, but obviously the APL's taken the license. I thought the Sydney Olympic director was going to take over. That's why it was kind of Sydney Olympic 2.0 almost. And QPR's linked with it, or they have been before. I remember Juan Mata was linked with potentially like getting involved somehow in the off season. Have you heard much about what's going to go on?
No, I've not. I've actually not heard a lot, but it's definitely worrying. I think the positive thing is that the APL have stepped in swiftly.
Yeah.
We're the first ones to probably say, where are the APL when everything's happening? I think they've come out and they've issued the statement quickly, which is always positive, but also are the APL really in the healthiest position financially?
Yeah.
That they're able to prop a club up for a long amount of time. Like we saw how long it went on with Newcastle and how worrying that got, and Perth. And it's like they're saying, okay, that, Central Coast is a beautiful place. The locals, there's international interest. Yeah, that's great. And when they're winning, fucking hell, it's such a great club. It's great to watch. But right now they're sitting bottom of the league. There's been a lot of worry there probably this whole season. And is that like, what are they really going to be selling it for? Like, how are you marketing this to be like, this is a great investment? Like all the wealthy people that are interested in football, like this is where you want to be putting your money.
That's the that's the hardest thing right now, because you're like, even with like the league itself, like obviously we've got the Silver Lake money that's going to be having to be paid back. This current negotiations with Channel 10 about the TV rights, the CBA. Like, if you're an owner coming in, you're like, what am I getting? Like, what do I actually see for this to be like? Yes, this is a good investment. If you can come in and buy it for a couple $1 million, you're like, you know what? That's not a bad one, because I can turn this around. If the league turns around, I sell it for 10, 15. Yeah, okay, I can see it. But if you're having to come in and buy it for 5 or 10 million, you're like, well, why would I do that? So that's what's going to be quite interesting. Like, I know I put it on X around like the fan-owned model. I think this is where like, and again, it's so hard to do, but I feel like there's certain teams like, at Central Coast, like you said, when things are going well, they were getting 15, 20,000 there for the grand finals. Everyone's buzzing. Now you've got no marketing. You've got them putting up signing photos from an iPhone with no graphics. Like, it's so dire. Like, it's so embarrassing the way it's been run. I can understand why people aren't rocking up to games, because they probably don't know what's on. And they're like, well, why would I give my money to these people who aren't investing it? But if you had, let's say 1,000 of the diehard Mariners fans putting in $1,000 a year for a shareholder kind of voting membership, that generates you $1 million there. Let's say that's 10% of the club. And then the other, 90% could be the wealthy business owners from the area. Like, I feel like there would be enough people that'd be like, you know what? Fuck, I've always wanted to own a bit of a football club, and I get a vote. You still need to have everything in place around, obviously who can actually vote on the board, who's on the board. Maybe you have like, one key fan from that. But I feel like that's almost like the way it needs to go with some of these clubs to actually change the current structure, because a rich guy putting in his own money is only going to last for so long before he's like, oh, fuck this. If I can't get anything out of the game, like a Charlesworth, if he couldn't get the land or whatever he wanted, he's like, don't worry about it. And then we're in the same situation again. So I think something needs to be changed. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I just think it's easier said than done. Like 1,000 people to put in 1,000. I know I'm just thinking numbers. Like, fucking hell, some of the Central Coast games and the crowds, it doesn't even look like there's 1,000 people in the stadium. So
yeah,
it's just tough. It is tough. Obviously, I think a lot of European clubs have had it in times. I think especially when owners have gone out. Hearts was fan owned for a long time when I was there as well. So, I mean, yeah, it could be an option, but you just got to hope that someone sees something in Central Coast that
Yeah.
sees that, you know
Yeah.
what, this is actually a beautiful part of the world. I've seen what it's like when it's good, but it's just like, where are these people, the wealthy people that are actually interested in football and wanting to put their money there? Because surely someone in that region is that person, but is that where they want to be putting their
Ollie
money?
Bozanic.
Ollie Bozanic,
Get your
we know that you
get your
made
T-Rex
we know
arms
that you
out.
made squillions. He was in Scotland with me driving a Lamborghini.
He's coaching the women's team now, isn't he? Is he an
Yeah,
assistant on the women's
yeah,
team?
yeah. He is.
So it could be the first owner of a club that's an assistant coach. Like that would
Maybe.
be a good story. But no, like I know it's like 1,000 people, but like I reckon if you, let's say Adelaide, for example, if I was in Adelaide, I
Oh,
reckon,
Adelaide could do it fucking easy.
but Central Coast, like I could go and get 1,000 people right now, I reckon, in the space of a week in Adelaide that would put in $1,000 for, whatever percentage, for a 1% ownership in the club. And you got to maybe, like, I was thinking about it, you probably got to actually, that's your membership for the year. But if you don't pay the next year, you lose your ownership pretty much. You got to keep paying it because that money can generate to pay for different things. Obviously, there's no individual owner that's going to ever take the money out. It's always going to get reinvested. I feel like it could happen. And if you're actually owning a percentage of the club, you're going to be more invested. Instead of just being like, this is a shambles, this is bullshit, everything's fucking disaster. You're like, well, I'm the disaster now. I'm actually the one that's got to change something here because I have this voting capacity. So I know what's going on here. It's not as easy as what people think. But I'm also, if I own the club, I'm going to be like at a barbecue with my mates and be like, listen, this is the stuff that's going on. So just so you know, we need the support. Like I know Charlesworth did those emails, the call outs of, how much they're losing. But it's coming from a guy that's worth X amount. Like people are like, mate, fuck off. Like I get what you're saying. You're losing money, but you're worth whatever. We don't care. Where if it's like, listen, if it was you and you said, listen, fuck, we're struggling here. We need to get behind the team. We need to make some more money, or you'd be a little bit more inclined to be like, okay, I understand that. I'm going to bring the family this weekend. I'll make sure I get to a few games. I'll do a 3-game flexi membership. There just needs to be some sort of connection because I'm sure there'd be a lot of kids that play football in the area. There's enough interest. It's just why can't they get, there's no other sporting team there. But anyway, it's one of those ones. Western United have avoided the ATO of shutting them down, which I'm sure the happiest man well, he doesn't live in West Melbourne, but in that area would have been Jason.
It's Scott Pendlebury.
Pendles. Pendles has just fucking got too much money. He doesn't even know where it's getting invested. And it's crazy. There's a lot of athletes that invested into it.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't know that there's a court case going on, so we don't know how that one's going to pan out. But I kind of look at it like, the risk of if you're going and investing in a football club and you're expecting big money, he's probably saying you're going to get 5, 6, 10 times your money. Well, there's a big risk as well. So whether he's done it the wrong way or not, obviously they were friends, and whether he's, he was taking, I don't want to say anything, but whether he was, using the money to pay wages, for example, like obviously that's wrong if that's the case.
Yeah,
I'm saying that's what he
absolutely.
was doing, but it's one of those ones where like you were struggling, like the club was struggling to get by week to week and everything like that. They were waiting for this investor to come in. So it seems like now that they've obviously invested this large amount of money to pay the ATO, you're not putting in $15.5 million if you don't think now this land deal and the club is coming back, obviously. So very interested to see what happens with the stadium because I saw something around, do they look to do a multi-purpose, AFL cricket, football one, and that would be a fucking disaster if this is what's to come from it. I think it needs to be a football stadium, whether it's a bit smaller. But for you, how does that make you feel? Obviously, with like you were the captain of the club, you were there for a long time, the success you guys had, like, is it worse knowing that the club may come back and you're not even going to be there, or is it like you're happy for the club?
No, I think we need the club. We need more teams, and we don't want disaster stories. We want success stories. And I think for everything that went wrong, the idea was great. I actually think the idea is the best of any club that's come in because they had an aim to build their own stadium and own their own stadium and have land attached to it. And I think as a actual business model, well, that's a lot more lucrative than what the other teams are worth. And
Yeah.
obviously there was decisions that were made along the way that clearly were wrong or didn't go to plan. And that's part of business and that's part of investing and being on board with something and putting your money there is there's always going to be a risk. I feel like especially with football in this country, there's a very big risk.
Yeah.
But I do. I hope they come back. I hope they come back. I hope they one day are playing in that stadium and it can be a real eye opener for maybe other teams in the league. Because it
Yeah.
would be, I always, when I was there, was thinking, well, everyone hangs so much shit on Western United. Yet, if they do get this stadium up and going, and I think that was the big one, the big if that everyone kept saying. But if they do, they're all of a sudden, they're a bigger club than Melbourne Victory. They're a bigger club than Melbourne City. Like, they're playing out of their own stadium. And if they start pulling in some decent crowds, you're looking at the other two clubs in Melbourne and you're like, you're paying out of your ass every week to play at
Yeah.
Amy Park and you're getting fuck all people there. So I do hope they come back,
Yeah.
but I just think that this is probably the first thing. I think there's a lot more to come and a lot more to
Yeah.
get through for them to actually come back. And I think,
Yeah.
as we said last week, like, we're middle of January now. Where are you getting an A-League team from?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
just-
you've lost your coach as well. I saw
You've
John
lost-
Astasiadis was linked to it, but you've got to sign 23 players. You've got to
And you
sign.
want to be competitive, yeah? You're
Yeah,
starting from the
yeah.
ground up. These were the whole issues that we had along the way. That the team wasn't. We won it, and then we weren't doing well. Then we were playing in Ballarat, playing here, there, and everywhere. It's like you still want success because you
Yeah.
want it to be something that's attractive for people to come. So you can go and sign a whole bunch of kids. Yeah, that's great. But if you're getting smashed every week, then who's going to get on board with that? So I feel like
Exactly.
there's a lot more things that they need to get sorted before it's actually, looking
And
like something that could be serious.
And I'm sure the APL would also be saying, like, we can't just let these guys back in because they say, yeah, we're ready to come back in. It needs to be like, okay, well, show us the money that you've got so you're going to be able to pay your bills. Show us, I guess, the plan with the council and the governments for the stadium, because obviously that's a big part of it. Like, we need to understand what's going on because we can't have you coming in for 3 years or 2 years and then going back out. Like, that's worse for us. So, yeah, it will be interesting, but obviously, like, it was put on pause or whatever it was. So I don't understand how that works because they paid a big amount to get into the league. So
Well, that's exactly. And now they paid this ATO bill.
yeah, so
The thing
like
that baffles me still is what about all the people that got laid off work
yeah,
and were put out of a job? What about players that had a 3-year contract as a professional footballer and are now playing NPL? For me, that's something that doesn't sit well. So
yeah,
like that's not just players. That's obviously my teammates, and I feel for these guys. But there's also all the staff
yeah,
and all the other people that were involved with the club that are now. I'm sure they've all got jobs, but maybe they're
Yeah.
in a job that's not paying as well as what they were at Western. So I don't. That's another thing that I just don't understand. How can you just say, all right, we'll just wipe our hands clean and then we'll just come back? So
Yeah.
and I don't understand this. I'm not having a dig, but for me that just doesn't seem right.
I actually don't. I don't know. Obviously, I was not involved at all, but even with the PFA, like, I don't get how they were able to get away with not paying you guys still. Like, I just don't understand that. Like, I know you all cancelled your contracts, but like, it's one of those ones where it's like, well, then the club, like, they should be going into liquidation. Like, if you've got a contract with someone, you have to pay the contract. I know you guys as players were like, well, if we do that and we stick here, fight for our money, then we're not training, we're not playing, we're not doing anything. But it's still like, where was the protection from the APL or from FA around those things to, obviously someone like yourself, obviously you've probably had to take a little bit less money to move to Sydney. Later in the transfer window, I'm sure all the players were the exact same. But then there was the players that didn't even get deals. And it's like, well, their whole life is turned upside down because of what's gone on. Tomoki Imai, a foreigner who's been living in the country for a long time, had to go back to Japan. Maybe he wanted to go back. But, he had to go back. Ibusuki had gone to India, I'm sure he would have preferred to have stayed in Australia. Like, there's so many things. Like, you got kids, you got families, and that's what's like, it can't happen again. So let's hope that whatever decision is made in the end is a good one for the future of the game. And speaking of the future, the under-23, the Olyroos, lost 1-0 against China. Obviously, first game they won 2-1 over Thailand, but Thailand had a very early red card after they scored. So they should have scored more in the Thailand game, and they had a couple of chances last night, but it's probably not been the most convincing first couple performances. Who I think, I know they're missing a lot of players who didn't come, but there should be probably a bit of pressure on Tony Vidmar and the Olyroos around, like, well, these are the tournaments we want to do really well at, and now they're gonna struggle to get through. I think they can draw the next game, but it's not easy. You maybe lose and then you're out.
Yeah. I just look at the team. For me, like, the team's impressive. I know there's a lot of people that are missing. I'm looking at that team going, like, is this, and it's hard. You don't know the Chinese team. You don't know the players. Maybe they are playing at a good level, but you imagine the level that these guys are playing at, mostly in Australia, some boys overseas, but they're all really playing, to be honest. So I'm just thinking, how can they be going in there and losing to China? Because China were never a team that you're going, fuck, you know what, this is going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
No disrespect, but you would always, when you're going out there, look, unless it's like, Japan, South Korea, obviously some of the Middle Eastern teams are quite strong, but, we lost to Vietnam those years, and we got hammered. We got hammered back home. And that was the best fucking Vietnamese team I've ever seen.
That was a joke.
Like, they were a joke.
And I'm playing with some of the players now. It's funny. But the biggest thing is, right, so that team I remember back then, like, they were together for like 4 or 5 years in like an Australian Institute of Sport setup. And their star player, apparently, from one of the players here, has told me that he actually had a doctored passport and he was a couple years older. And that was the player that was fucking the Vietnamese Messi. So
he nearly ruined my career, that guy. And he was too old.
He was a joke. He was so good. But yeah, it's one of those ones where, like, this Chinese team apparently are, not conceding goals, but they've conceded a couple of goals in 8 games. So they're obviously very solid. But, we conceded off a second phase of a set piece that we looked pretty bad in the set pieces against Thailand. I just think there needs to be, and not in a bad way, obviously, Tony Vidmar was our coach. I see him all the time. We live around the corner from each other. But, like, for us to grow and keep getting better, like, there needs to be pressure on this type of stuff. Like, this is where talking points, if it's good, if we win this, when we won the last Asian Cup, the under-20s, everyone was buzzing. The same way if things aren't going well, like, you need to have these topics, and that's where it's like, that's where the media is so good. And I know they love negative stories more than positive, but we need to be talking about this, because this is how these players, your Alagiches, your Dukalis, your Pauls, your who's in goals, Stephen Hall, for example, Simmons, like, these players that are playing in the A-League. All right, that's great. You're playing in the A-League. There's no promotion relegation. You win, you lose. It matters, but it doesn't. Like, this is like, no, this matters. Like, you're out in a tournament in a couple of games if you don't win. So if you want to go on to represent the country, go and play overseas, like, these are the games where you need to understand, like, okay, yes, it's about playing well, but you need to win. You need to find a way to win. And that's where we struggled a lot when we were younger. We weren't playing the games that these guys are all playing now as well. Yeah. So we were underdone. But it's going to be interesting to see how they go, because Thailand, I know from the boys here saying, they've sent nowhere near their strongest team either because of their league going on. So they've got a very young team. So it's like, well, that wasn't even the strong Thailand team. And I know we're missing a lot of players, but still, like, it's one of those ones that we need to be demanding the best from our junior national teams. So let's hope they can go through. I hope they play Vietnam and we win that. So then all the boys here, I can give them a bit of shit. But I think the Vietnamese team here will do all right, because they've been together for the last 2 months with the Southeast Asian Games, winning that.
A lot of them playing local.
They all play. They're all playing locally. Like, I don't think there's any Vietnamese players at the moment playing in any other Asian league. But a lot of them, they're playing. And this is the country takes this so seriously, which is a good thing. And then that's the other side of it in Australia now. Like, you don't have to let your players go. Where back when we were playing, if you got picked, you had to go. Now you don't have to go, but it's kind of like, what's better for the individual player? Is it better to go to a tournament like this, or is it better to play an extra 3 or 4 A-League games? I'm not actually, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the better thing is. I think playing for your country is the better one now, because if you're a starting player in the A-League and you go away, you're going to come back and get your spot back. When we were younger, it was a bit different because there was only probably 1 or 2 of us in the 20s or 23s, a few more that were playing. If you left
You got
and
punished.
came back,
You got
your
punished for
spot was
going
gone.
away. Yeah. Then you had no chance to get back in the team. Whereas all of these guys are starters at their teams. So
Yeah,
yeah, I find that the way that the A League has gone in playing, we've got so many young players now. I feel like it's been a blessing in disguise for our junior national teams. I feel like all the junior national teams have benefited massively and they've done better. Obviously, the 20s, they won their Asian Cup. They obviously didn't do as well at the World Cup. But I think there's a lot of players that have come out of that team and they're now playing regularly in the A League every game and they're good players. I feel like this is probably maybe one of the poorer results of recent times, but obviously they win the next game, they go through, and then who knows, we could be
yeah,
sitting here in a couple of weeks' time and say, yeah, they won the whole thing.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I hope they are. That's just the reality of it. But there needs to be, yeah, there needs to be pressure. Like that's what comes with the job as the coach for the players. Like pressure is there in this sport. You know, you get overseas and then you obviously understand the real pressure. And uh, we go on to the mind of a pro, this new segment that we've started, and it's kind of a little bit of a different one, but something that I kind of brought up because of the comments from Fahid Ben Khalfala on Suited and Booted, and obviously that created a little bit of a stir on social media. I don't know if it was 50-50, but a lot of people were talking, so I'm sure the guys there are happy because their metrics would be good on the podcast in the interactions. But he's very negative in what he's saying, but he's also telling the truth,
Yeah,
right?
he says it how it is. And I think some people like it and some people are maybe,
Yeah.
I think more people liked it at the start and now people are maybe getting a bit sick of it. But
Part three, maybe the
part
three
three,
podcasts
oh,
on it is too
fucking
much.
Suited and Booted will be doing a part 3 for sure.
Yeah.
Because every time he comes on, it must be one of their highest viewed pods.
And obviously like for everyone involved, like there needs to be talking points with football from players, from coaches, from agents, and that's obviously what we're going to be talking about mainly with this is agents. And at the end of the day, like the agent's gonna always back their players, right? And if the agent's gonna know what a good club to deal with and a bad club because they're dealing with all the clubs, so they're gonna know what ones are, I guess, operationally they run well, but also like if you want to leave and Sydney FC say to you, yeah, you can leave, Ben. Your agent's going to be like, fuck, Sydney FC were top to deal with. But if they say, no fucking way, you're our starting left back, we're not letting you go. He can turn around and say, yeah, Sydney are fucking shit to deal with. But it's just like, well, that's because your player's not getting let go and you're not going to make maybe more commission. And that's where I feel like it's a hard one because I think every player, you know, you have your value, whether it's your wage, whether it's the transfer fee, there's certain elements of it, and he's talking a little bit about, you know, signing, you know, more experience or the marquee players. Clubs don't obviously see the value in that. Some of them do, some of them don't. But for you, in I guess your experience with agents, because I feel like football's changed a lot now. Where back, you know, 15 years ago when we were starting out, 10 years ago, it was very much like your agent can really sell you. Now you've got social media, right? You've got all these analytics. You've got everything about you as a player is out there.
Every game, every stat is monitored. Like you can go on FotMob after a game and you know straight away how many passes you made, where you passed, how many chances. Like every single stat is there, and that's the same for video. You've got Y Scout. Like I don't really understand the need of like when clubs are like, oh, do you have a highlight video? Or agents are like, oh, do you have a highlight video? So what do you mean do I have a fucking highlight video? Just go and watch the replays of the last 3 games. Like
Yeah.
yeah, for me, agents as a whole, do we need them? I think yes, you do need them, definitely for getting overseas, for going into markets that you're not familiar with. For me, domestic transfers in Australia, I don't think agents should be taking any commission. And I know
Yeah.
the agents will sit there and say, "Oh, fucking hell, I'm doing the work." We're in Australia. You know every single player. You literally know every single player, and every single person inside football in Australia knows each other through some way or another. And if you don't, you just get their number off someone that you do know and you give them a call. I don't see why agents would be taking 5%, or it used to be even sometimes more, but why they would be taking 5% of a deal, especially in a climate that we're in at the moment that is not paying ridiculously high.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never seen a deal in the A League where they've come and said, you know what, this is what you wanted, but I actually got you an extra 100 grand on top. I'd say, fucking
Yeah.
hell, take 10%. No
Yeah.
worries. But it's just not. We're in a salary cap league. You can see that there's open information. You've got the PFA. You can go and see what other players in your position are earning. Obviously, you don't get to see exactly who it is, but you can see, oh, what's the average salary of a left back in the A League, and they'll give it to you for a starting 11
Yeah.
player, for a younger player, for a player that's your age. You've got all of that information. I don't see the need for an agent to do a deal and take 5% of your wage when they're not getting you anything more in Australia. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on it?
Yeah. I think, like I'm obviously not currently like signed with an agent. I haven't been since Vince Grella stopped being an agent and he obviously went to run a football club. I just feel like I hate the fact that you have to sign with like a lot of agents. Like I feel like it's a very dodgy world. Probably agents in all aspects because you don't know a lot of the stuff when they're dealing for you and kind of saying, well, if you don't sign with me, I'm not going to bring you a deal. Or and you're like, well, okay, if I sign with you, great. But then if you don't bring me a deal, what happens then? You're not going to go and pay me for fucking doing nothing. And I've now said no to these other agents because they've said, well, we're not working with you if you're signed with someone else. I feel like it's a very shady world, and there probably is 10% of good agents. I just feel as if now, because of everything that's out there with the analytics, because of even like players that are getting signed in Australia, I guarantee you some of the clubs, like the MLS, for example, they're contacting the clubs directly rather than going through the agents because of this money ball system they've got up. A lot of clubs are doing this now. I just I just feel like they take a lot of money for the work they actually do. And for me, the biggest thing of an advantage of a good agent should be someone that's not just getting you, well, yes, they should get you a deal, and they should probably hopefully get you a deal that you're like, fuck, how did you get me this? Like, this is top. Like, that's what you want as a player. Um, but I feel like they should actually be guiding you with everything off the field as much as on it, because on it, yes, there's certain things that the agent can control and they can't control. But I feel like someone like, let's say, a Ryan Teague, he's rumored, whether it's true or not, but just use him as the example. He's rumored to be coming back to Australia to sign with Melbourne City. I know for sure he'd want to be in that World Cup squad. I think it's a terrible move because you've gone overseas once, you've come back, you've done really well in the A League, you've gone overseas again, and it's not worked out for whatever reason. And we don't know the ins and outs. There's so much, bullshit that goes on over there. It could be his own performances, could be coach doesn't like him, could be they've changed coaches, the football director, whatever it is. But you come back to Australia and you did really well. Well, what is that proving anyway? Like, what is that actually changing? Because you've already proved that you can do well in Australia. So you need to show that you can do it overseas because you want to, if you don't stay in Belgium, you want to go somewhere else. And James Holland, who we had on, was the best example of the mentality that every young player should have of, I'm not fucking coming back to Australia. I don't care. I don't care why or what happens to me over here, I'm staying over here. And that's where I feel like your agent should be saying, you stay over here. Because that's what I didn't have when I left Holland. My agent was saying, yeah, to leave, where I wish I stayed in the second division. I didn't know. I was a young kid. I was 20 years old. I didn't actually know. But the advice for me should have been around that and how to deal with living away from home and financially what I should do with my money and surrounding myself with the right people to buy a house and what I should invest in and all these other things. That's where an agent, I feel like, can really add a lot of value to you. Where now the agents, they're just getting you a deal. Fucking anyone, like anyone can essentially do that. Like I think there's a thing called transfer room, which I'm sure you're aware of, where it's like almost making it easier for agents and for clubs, where they just list a player on there for the price. The clubs actually put on what they want to sign, what their budget is, and it kind of filters through those players. What's the need in the agent then? Like, it should just be literally, I think, a player should be able to go on there and list themselves and say, this is the amount of money that I want. This is where I would prefer to go. You know, this is my highlights package. This is my scores on FOTMob or whatever one they want to use. What do you actually need this agent for? Like, it's one of those ones where, yeah, I'm yet to really have one that's, I've been like, fuck, man. Like, if I have my son one day, I would say 100% you've got to go with this agent because he went above and beyond. You know, when I was struggling overseas for you, for example, when you did your knee, he flew there to be with you and say, listen, Benny, fucking hell, like, you're in a bad spot here. I'm going to help you out. Let's go out for dinner. Let's do this. Let's do that. None of them do that. They come when fucking things are going good and they're like, yeah, we'll get you the next deal and we'll get you the deal to fucking Manchester City. It's like, well, yeah, okay, great. Anyone can fucking do that. Where are you when things are tough and, you know, when I'm really struggling? So that's my take on it. Whether it's going to happen or not, I don't know.
On when I went overseas, because I know when you went to Holland, did Vinny got you that deal, didn't he?
Yeah, Vinny got me the deal, but a lot of it actually came through Robbie Violart from Melbourne Heart. His dad was an agent or football director, and he kind of put them in touch, and then obviously Vinny spoke with them. But yeah.
Yeah. See, mine, I was signed with an agent, an Aussie agent, and the club actually in Scotland, they were working with another agency, a UK-based agency, who basically had a search engine for stats.
Yeah.
So you could basically put in any league in the world. This is the position that I want. This between this age, transfer value, this much. This is how much we've got to spend, and we want a player that's molded like I think they were looking for Kieran Tierney, who was the left back. I don't know how the fuck I came up, but I came up, and so it wasn't actually done through my agent at all. They reached out to me. I said, look, I've got an agent already here in Australia. They were like, yep, we're happy to work together. We're working on behalf of the club. And they did the deal, and that's how it came about, which is a perfect case of like, that was back then, nearly 10 years ago.
8 years ago? 10 years ago?
So imagine now.
Yeah.
So, but also in that, yes, you can filter all your stats and everything. And this is like what you were saying about a good agent. But I feel like stats are one thing, but don't you also want to know about the person that you're signing? For me, that's just as important. And that's where the agent comes in and really, you know, tells your story. You know, clubs might look and be like, oh, he was in Australia, he came overseas, then he went back, then he came again, then he went back. But there could have been reasons for that. And I feel like that's where a good agent will spin the story and say, you know, he came back, he didn't want to come back, he had a bad injury, or he came back, it was a World Cup year, he wanted to just get playing for 1 year, it was never his intention to stay, and then he wanted to go back overseas. And I feel like that's where agents kind of come in. And definitely for international transfers, I think they are important, but for how long they'll actually be around with the way technology and AI and all of these things are changing, I genuinely don't see agents being around for too much longer.
Yeah. And the problem is there's such big hitters in the world of the game. Like, there's so much money. And this is the dark side of football as well, where it's like, you know, an agent probably doesn't happen as much now, but a lot back in the day would have been like, listen, I'm good mates with the technical director, so you sign my players, we get a 10% cut, I'll give you a little bit of the money, everybody's happy. And it's not saying that the player didn't deserve the contract, but it could be two identical players, but you just go and sign the player from the agency that, you know, because, you know, he's always helped you out. And when I get relationships help in all walks of life, but even here in Asia, like, it's very much like that. I negotiated my own deal in terms of what I wanted here. There's an agent that had to do it because that's just the way it is dealing with the club. But in Australia, I did my own. I think now I want to be in these conversations. Like, if I was younger, you're a little bit more scared. But as the player, you should want to know what's going on. Yes, it's a bit confronting if they're talking numbers. But
I did my own at Western as well.
You want to be your own best advocate, and then you can sell your story and say, listen, like, not just about what type of player, but actually, well, you can speak directly to the player and be like, this is what type of player is he. Fucking really wants to come here, and I want to find out about you. But yeah, obviously as agents, their biggest thing is they care about just signing players, and that's the thing where I was talking about at the start around how they make you sign with them. But, you know, like, they'll say to you, Ben, you need to sign with us. And you're like, okay, no worries, I'll sign with you. But they'll sign 5 other left backs. And they put the 5 or the 6 left backs to the clubs and say, well, which one do you want?
Yeah.
and they don't give a fuck
I've
if you
never
get the
understood
contract or
that.
not.
Yeah, I've never understood
Like,
like an agent that has so many players that have got other players in your position, and they're just like, yeah, there you go. This is the pick. Like this is the
like
pick, and it's like, yeah, the one obviously gets picked, and then all the other players are like, well, fucking hell, that could have been me if you didn't have so many players.
exactly, and that's where like I hate that they force you to sign with them because push comes to shove, they're going to sign as many players as they can. If they're good players and they think they can get them deals, they'll just keep signing other players. So I'm like, that's what I say to them. I say, listen, like if you want a mandate for a specific club because you've got me a deal, yeah, no worries, let's do it. But if not, fucking no chance I'm signing with you because
Yeah,
come the end of the window, if you don't bring me anything, there's nothing in the clause that says you need to pay my wages.
no,
It's just, sorry, bad luck for me, and I'll see if I can get you a deal next window. So it's very difficult. I think we've spoken about it before on a podcast, but creating something similar to Transfer Room, like a realestate.com.au just for players,
yeah,
it's FIFA
that's the
essentially.
way to
Like
go.
it's just the best way. And then the players, once they get contacted, maybe then they can say, all right, listen, I'm going to find a representative to talk on my behalf. It could be a lawyer, as long as you
Yeah,
know the
well, you
numbers,
just
as long
use
as they
your
know the
local
contracts.
PFA.
Yeah,
Like all the PFAs around the world have got lawyers. Like here in Australia, we're so lucky. Like the PFA, they're unbelievable. You've got Ange, who's unbelievable for contracts and things like that. You send it through to her, she gets you everything back on the same day. Like she'll reply
yeah,
within an hour. I just don't see the need, especially within Australia. For me, it's just, yeah, why would you
yeah.
be giving 5% of your wage away?
So for any young players listening in or any parents of young players,
Give us a call.
especially,
We'll take
yeah,
2%.
we'll take two, not five. But like, honestly, even now, seeing because of Instagram and that, seeing these kids out there, like seeing some of the kids that are signing like with CAA or whatever they're called, base, where Vinny was a part of it. I think it's CAA.
Yeah.
Seeing them signing like academy players at 14, 15, like fucking hell. I actually think that's like, because as the parent, you'd feel pressured. You'd be like, oh, well, this person said that they've got an agent
Yeah.
for their kid, and I don't want to not. You want what's best for your kids. So you're like, I don't want him to not have an agent, and he's saying if I don't sign with him, they're not going to get a professional contract. It's like, fucking just let your kid play, and if your kid plays well, teams are going to be interested from overseas,
Exactly.
and then he can get a
Yeah.
deal. But I understand from the parents' point of view, if they don't know about football, if you're from an AFL world or a cricket world or non-sporting world, you wouldn't know what's going on and you'd feel scared and you'd be like, well, I don't want my kid to miss out because if he's saying if I don't have an agent. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think I would ever be an agent, but maybe that's something we can do life after footy and we can just travel around, play the different golf courses in wherever the cities are of our players, some paddle, coffee. And the biggest thing for me is like, actually just guide these players to make them
Yeah.
better people. So if they don't make it, or if they do make it and they have to retire at 30, you've set them up as a person so
Yeah.
they can go into the next walk of life, whether it's investments, whether it's education, similar to what the PFA does, but you're the hands-on, you're the one that's there actually all the time talking to your player. That's actually the thing that it would excite me around it, is because you actually get to help these kids instead of just fucking using them and taking the money that you can from them, and then once they're not useful for you, on to the next one. So anyway, it is what it is. We're not going to change the agent world, and I think that's all we've got time for today.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're probably going to get. I got 3 missed calls. We haven't even released it yet. I've had 3 different agents calling me saying, what the fuck are you saying that for? But honestly, look, that's our personal experience. We're not saying that agents are bad. We're just explaining the way it kind of works for people that don't understand, and obviously how you can kind of get caught into traps. And obviously there are good ones and bad ones, like we said, but at least we shed a little bit of information on it, and you can take of that what you will. But
Exactly.
that's
Exactly
all
right.
we got
Good
time
luck.
for today, guys.
Big game for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Home game at Allianz. Hopefully it's a big crowd. Is it Sunday, your game?
Sunday against the Knicks. So yeah, it'll be good. Be good to be
They're
back
doing
at
all
Allianz.
right. They're doing all right. A win and a draw after quite a few losses. So 2-0 down
Everyone's
as well
all
to come
right.
back 2-2.
Everyone's all right.
Like it
That's the thing.
shows they've
If you
got
don't show
a
up,
bit of fight.
yeah,
Exactly right. Well, good luck, and good luck to our Olyroos, obviously, with their final game. We hope that next week we're talking about them and who they're playing in the next round. I don't think we'll have an owner of Central Coast by then, but it'd be great if we did. So we're still waiting to hear from the APL, the new is it the new CEO? What his plan is. He's been in the job now over a week.
He's still at long service leave. He's still on
Good
it.
weather. No, it's terrible weather in Sydney today, so he shouldn't be down at the beach. He should be working, but maybe he's gone for an ice bath and a sauna or something to recover after the weekend.
Oh well.
All right, thanks guys.
See.
Appreciate you
Thanks
listening
guys.
in. We'll see you next week.
See you guys. Bye.